I mean, it's an investment and it's something that you're going to spend, whether it's $100 or $1,000 on something. It doesn't need to be just okay. You need to love it.
Welcome to Leaders of the West, a podcast for innovators and changemakers. I'm your host, Jessie Jarvis, the founder of the West, and I'm sitting down with agriculturalists, entrepreneurs, executives, and everyone in between with the goal of digging into the strategies, mindsets, and lessons that have been crucial to the success of ag and Western. Whether you're carrying on the next generation of your family's operation, starting something from scratch, or determined to climb up the leadership ladder, we're going to inspire you to continue to dream big, growing not just you, but the future of agriculture and Western as a whole. Let's go. You guys are in for a great conversation today. One of the hardest things in business is to stay in your own lane. And that's probably not just applicable to business. I think that's applicable to our personal lives as well. It is really easy to get caught up in what everybody else is doing, chasing trends, second-guessing yourself, comparing yourself to others, or building a business that doesn't even look like you anymore as it has continued to evolve. And that is exactly why I have always admired today's guest, Kelli Leclair. She is the founder of Heritage Style, and she has built one of the most loyal customer communities that I have ever seen. And she's built that not by following the crowd, but by really staying true to herself and to the people that she serves and to her community. She knows her customers and she understands how they want to connect, and she shows up for them with consistency and heart. And on top of that, she says in this interview that her friends are her customers and her customers are her friends. Kelli and her husband Herschel, they run a cattle operation in Wyoming. They also have a little baby girl named Lincoln, which means that she is living the same lifestyle that so many of us are, kind of being pulled between being a mom and a business owner and a ranch wife. And Herschel and Kelli are also very big in the stock show world. So raising cattle and then taking them to be shown, it is a whole other world, if you will. So she's on the road constantly, setting up booths at shows, navigating the chaos of big events. And she is still just really managing to radiate positivity through all of it, which is something else that we talk about together. So in this conversation, we just really dig into what it takes to build a business that is rooted in authenticity and how to create customer experiences that really last, what Kelli has learned about in sales, and how she continually just leads with positivity no matter where life or the road takes her. And while we're here on the topic of building, I do have a quick story that I want to share that doesn't necessarily apply to Kelli, but you know what cracked me up this summer? So an employer called me and they said, Jessie, I just had to pause my job that was posted on Of the West after 3 days because I had so many good applicants. And I laughed because honestly, how often do you hear of that in hiring? Like when I get a call from an employer or an email, there is always a little pit in my stomach just because I think, oh no, like what is wrong? Or what are they challenged with? What is the issue that they're facing? It's never the, oh, I bet they're emailing me to tell me that it's a great job. And honestly, most of the emails that I get are obviously positive. So don't take that the wrong way. But I think when any of us have a conversation about hiring with people, it is always a very like, oh no, we're hiring. It's not an excited, hey, I'm hiring for my business. But honestly, she's not one of the only people who has filled her role that quickly, which again, if you've ever tried to hire in this industry, you know it's very, very unheard of. And I think that that just goes to show how hungry people are for those great opportunities, especially when they're listed in the right place. That's why we've really developed different posting options on Of the West. We know that some people want the basics. Other people want the works, which would be a job shared across social and featured in our newsletters, pinned to the top of the page. We really do work so hard to cater to our employers to bring them all of the possible options that they would want, and through that, bring them great employees. So if you guys have a role to fill, whether it is a single position, whether it is a number of positions, all of those options are up on our site. So you guys can go to ofthewest.co/employers and see all of those options. Or if you know of somebody who's hiring, send this their way so that they can hear about all of the good that we're doing and how they can get connected with great employees and job seekers, because you are going to be their new best friend if you can save their lives from a heartache and the heck that can be hiring, especially in our industries. So, okay, I'm not going to monopolize the conversation anymore. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the show, Kelli Leclair. Okay, Kelly, you are a Texan at heart, like a deep-rooted Texan. But now you call Wyoming home. You have a business in Heritage Style, which is an incredibly well-known jewelry business. You and your husband Herschel also operate Leclair Cattle Co. You have a number of irons in the fire. How did all of these pieces come together? How did Heritage Style start? What was the move like from Texas to Wyoming? Like, give us all of the details in the last 30 some years of life.
Yeah. So I actually, it's funny. I don't think a lot of people know, and hopefully I don't talk in circles completely. But Herschel and I were living in Freona when I started the business. And actually, it was a totally a side hobby. I wouldn't even call it a side hustle because I wasn't looking for a job. I really liked my job. And I was I was truly looking for a hobby. So I sold advertising for a used farm equipment catalog at the time called Fastline. And like I said, I loved it. I called on tractor dealers all day, every day in West Texas. I mean, it was just like, I loved it. It was my dream job. And I had learned through that job and then previous jobs, really starting from my first job when I waited tables in high school, that I liked selling things. I liked being able to control my income based on how hard I worked, really. And I learned that I was good at selling things. And that came from several jobs in between. But like I said, so I worked for Fastline. I was slinging jewels on the side. And I had made the decision to move back to Herschel's family's ranch. His dad had had a stroke the year before, and we needed to just really come up and so Herschel could take over. So when that happened, I obviously lost my job because we left the territory that I worked in. And so it was very much a fight or flight kind of deal. It's funny. I don't think either one of us realized how good we had it when we lived in Texas because we went from having, normal salaries to neither one of us did. And it was totally okay, this has to work. This went from being a fun little hobby of tinkering around, finding cool jewelry and selling it to we got to pay the bills. And I've always been like a fight or flight kind of person. And to be honest, it was much harder to leave Texas than I anticipated it to be. My head knew that it was the smartest move to come up and take over the ranch, of course, but it was like a different world. I look different, I talk different, I act different. So I really leaned into focusing on my business because it was really the only constant. It was the only thing I knew. I still always get emotional when I talk about it because it got me through it. It really did. So, yeah.
So here's another question that I have for you because here's what I know about you. You and I would consider us to be friends, but we're the type of friends that I don't actually know a ton of details of your life, right? We have started out as social media friends and we've met a number of times. Most recently, we saw each other this summer. And so one of the things I know about you is you and Mackenzie Dorset with Dryland Decor are incredible friends and have been since college. And I heard maybe it was a live sale that you guys did where the first time or how you guys initially met each other was you were both in FFA and you guys kind of judged together. You were from different schools, but your teams traveled together. That's how you met. So here's what I know about you. You were an FFA girl in high school in Texas. But aside from that, what was or is your connection to agriculture? Like, did you come from an ag background? Give me all the details.
Yeah. So Mackenzie and I showed sheep. We traveled together when we were in high school. Our ag teachers were father and son. And I credit so much of kind of everything in my life to my ag teacher. So that's how we traveled together. And then we ended up going to tech and we were both ag comm. And it's just, we've had just all of our, I don't know, all of our seasons of life have just seemed to come together really. But I grew up, I would say semi kind of hobby, had some livestock. My dad drove a truck. So it was by no means the caliber that I'm at now. Yeah. So after high school, FFA kid, went to tech to judge, got an ag comm degree. And then right out of college, I went to work for a livestock marketing firm. And that's where I really was immersed in the livestock industry. I still use a lot of those connections. I still have like tons of those customers. I took a semester off during college and I interned for the State Fair of Texas. I met a ton of people doing that. So I guess ish is the answer to your question.
I love that. There's no wrong answer, right? But I just think it is so important for people to realize, we all have different stories and different connections to the industry. And most of the most successful people that I know, honestly, were not raised in the industry. They didn't have that full connection like we expect them to have had. And I just think it's so important to just continue to share that. The majority of people honestly have been ag adjacent, which is how they got their start. And I think you would probably say you would consider yourself to be that. And I just love hearing that from people.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know how Heritage Style started. It started as a hobby that was meant to be a hobby. And then it became this is how our family is going to pay our bills. All of our eggs are now in the jewelry basket. So what has that evolution of Heritage Style? Because looking at it now, you would have never thought that it was once solely a business that was a hobby.
Well, first of all, I don't want it to sound like it was all Heritage Style and that was how we were paying our bills. I'm going to be super honest. It was Heritage Style was how I was going to get my nails and hair done so that I didn't have to ask my husband for money.
That is so relatable for so many people out there.
Yeah, let's get that. I was by no means paying the land payment. But it was a very natural evolution. So here's the difference in Herschel and I. I am very conservative and Herschel is a risk taker. And so I was very conservative with how I bought. I only reinvested in the business. I certainly was not going to take any big risks as far as big pieces or wild pieces. And Herschel was very much do it. What's the worst that can happen? And I've gotten more and more like that as I've gotten, I don't know, more comfortable, I guess. But it was really small at first. It was little, it was a few rings here and there and a couple necklaces here and there. And I grew it organically as I could afford to. I never borrowed, I did borrow money from Herschel in the beginning, but me being conservative to a fault, and I think that goes back to probably my roots, not being in ag or so heavy in ag, I guess. I was probably too conservative, but I knew that I was not going to be able to sleep at night knowing if X didn't sell, what was going to happen. If X didn't sell, it was still going to be okay, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I really slowly grew the business that way. I don't know, just because, to be honest, my parents are conservative, I guess. But it just slowly grew. And I think it's a direct correlation to the time that I invested. Like I said, I was working, 12 to 15-hour days every single day because it kept me grounded. It kept me sane. But I'll never forget the first trade show I did. It was Angus Convention in Fort Worth. And it was because it made sense. It was because I could stay at my parents or at friends. I don't remember where I stayed, but it was the exact same thing. It was just made sense. It was safe.
Yeah, the conservative version of we're growing and scaling, but we're going to do it very, very responsibly.
Yes, thank you for saying that. That is how I should have said that 5 minutes ago. Yes, and then it was Hereford Junior Nationals, and Hereford was in Grand Island that year, and Herschel could go with me, and it was the only way that I was going to be able to build a business and not completely need to be on Xanax.
Right. No, so going back to that mentality of slow and steady wins the race. Heritage Style is the definition of slow and steady, responsible growth, and here we are, a massive player in the industry. Even though you probably wouldn't say that, but that's what the rest of us consider you to be. We never feel that way about ourselves, but there we have it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So one of the things that I've really always admired about you is how true you have always stayed to yourself and your customers. And again, I have known you now for, am I allowed to say probably 10 years now? Pretty dang close to it. And there have been a ton of trends in that time. And one thing that I would say, and there are probably only a very small handful, not even a full 5 fingers of you that I would consider who, through that time period, especially in retail, have really stayed true to yourselves and not chased or copied trends or what others are doing in business. And like you have built your lane and you have stayed in it. What has really driven that discipline for you? Because that's not easy.
No, it's not easy. I try really, really hard. And there's days that I do really well and there's days that I fail, but I try really hard to not even look at what quote competition is doing. I think that's a really slippery slope. I think it shows, but I'm also not a very good actress. I mean, it's like people say it all the time, like you don't have to use your words. What you think is written all over your face. So maybe that's part of it, that I know that if I don't like it, I'm not going to be able to sell it. And I think that that probably comes from years of selling other things. Like I was very fortunate to be able to have some corporate sales training before Heritage Style. You've got to believe in what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
People can read right through that. And subconsciously, maybe that's it is. And also when I started, I'd always said, if it doesn't sell, I'm okay with keeping this. I am totally okay with this being in my jewelry box. And I think that makes it a lot easier to invest the kind of dollars that we're talking about. But I think that that's maybe a combination of those things. And I have a really good support system that has always reassured me that, I don't know, it's everybody else is taken. Do you, girl? You do you.
There is so much power in that. And I think it really goes to show because you have built such a loyal customer base. Like your customers are the most loyal of customers that I know. And one of the reasons that I've seen that is because you sell through Turquoise Tuesdays on Instagram live sales. So people can obviously, we know how an Instagram live sale works. You can join on Instagram, you can watch it live, you can comment with what you want to buy. But what is it about that format that makes it so powerful for your community? Because there are a number of times where you sell out of that product or that inventory and it never makes it online.
I think it started because, to my knowledge, nobody else was doing it at the time. I was consistent every single Tuesday. Nobody was doing it. And so it was an anomaly at the time. Now, I think, and kind of marrying those kind of two questions that I feel like you just asked, my customers are my friends. And it's funny because I can think of 3 to 5 of, I would say, like my very, very best friends that would be bridesmaids in my wedding if I got married today. I met through selling them jewelry. And I would say, like, my customers are my friends. I don't love doing shows, but what I do love about shows is seeing all my friends, whether they shop or not, and like I'll say that all the time, like, I don't care if you shop, just come see me. But I think that that's part of it too. I think that there is a huge portion of people that get on my lives that have no intention of buying anything. They just want to say, hey, and I love that,
Well, and that is so true. Even this summer when I drove to Boise, I was initially, here's how this happened, you guys. So Live Ag was having their sale in Boise and I was supposed to come the day before, but we had a fire and I wasn't able to. And then the next day I had planned to take the kids school shopping and I was going to go to Twin. But then I saw that Kelli was going to be set up at Live Ag's sale. And I thought, well, I should probably go because I can go see some people. And then I could see Kelli, who I never get to see in person. So I completely rerouted my plans. We did not go school shopping in Twin. We went to Boise. My kids lived through the day. Jackson got rewarded with her very first piece of turquoise. But, well, I guess not her very first piece, but like the first piece that I actually bought for her. But that's just it. Like I literally changed my plans and drove 100 miles just to hang out with you. But part of that, though, is your positivity. You radiate positivity all of the time. And I know that that's not easy. There are tons of bad things or frustrating things or things that happen in life. And you are just somebody who, like, you confront it head on and then okay, this is the plan, or that's unfortunate, but oh well, we're just going to deal with it. Like, you have an incredibly glass is always half full mentality.
I love that you think that. And I love that I've made you think that. But I have again, I have a really good support system. Like Mackenzie and I joke all the time, and I hope she's okay with me saying this. Like we'll see things on Instagram story that other business owners post, and like all the time we'll like, "Ugh, this poor girl needs a friend." Like, I think that there's different hats that you wear, right? And if you're having a bad day, the world doesn't need to know about it. And I think that I've always had, I shouldn't say always, I've trained myself to have a mindset of we're all busy. We're all tired. We've all got a ton of irons in the fire. Like, nobody cares about how busy I am. And I think maybe that's part of it is nobody needs me to bring them down with everything that I've got going on because we've all got stuff going on. I think maybe that's the root of that positivity is realizing that we've all got bad days. And since I've had Lincoln, and more so, I've realized that there are petty things. Most things are petty things that in the grand scheme of things just don't matter.
That is definitely true. But I'm just going to double down. Like, you are a great friend. You are such a strong supporter of your friends. That doesn't just happen. That I think kind of goes hand in hand with somebody who is really positive. Like, you are a great cheerleader for other people.
Relationships are very important to me. Yeah, my relationships are very, very important to me.
Is that something that you have always had? Is it like innate within you? Is that something that you have developed? Did you, again, you had mentioned that when you were at Tech and you interned for State Fair of Texas, like just networking has always been a big thing. Is that something that is just like a natural part of Kelli Leclair?
Maybe so. My grandmother, she's fantastic. And Gran was always like, Gran's just nice. And I remember as a kid, it's so funny, like little like things that stick with you. I remember as a kid, my dad and I were at the feed store and he said something to the guy on the dock loading the feed and like he was talking to him. And we had got back in the truck. We were going home or wherever. And I said, "Did you know him?" And he said, "No." And I will never forget. He looked at me and he said, "Kelli," he said, "it doesn't cost a thing to be nice to people." And that has always stuck with me. He's like that. Like, he's just friendly. So maybe it's from watching those two people who I've always admired that, I don't know. I think I like to make people feel good.
Oh, well, you definitely do. And let's give a minute to Gran because is she 100?
She's 100.
Yeah. So she has 100 years worth of build those relationships and be nice to people sitting inside of her.
Uh-huh. Well, and but like being Gran are like totally the same. So she dressed mannequins it's Macy's now, but it used to be Sangerhurst. And she would walk to work in her heels every day. She never had a driver's license. So she's always loved just fashion and being pretty and just so. Gran and I have a lot in common.
I love that. Let's switch gears just a little bit. So this is November. We are kind of going into show season, whether somebody's going to the NFR, they're going to set up at a Texas rodeo this winter. Tons of, you're going to have to help me with this because we don't have these here, but like Christmas shows.
The Junior League shows.
Yes, thank you, Junior League. Okay, yeah, that's not a thing here, but I know that that's a big deal for a number of people. You are somebody who you really have set just a cornerstone of how great your setup looks at a trade show, and that is not easy. So for maybe some of our vendors or retailers that are listening to this, what are your booth secrets? What are some things for people to consider?
So first of all, I would say decide what show makes sense. Like, I did Vegas for the finals for 3 years, and I started doing Kansas City when I stopped doing Vegas. And the reason for that is Kansas City makes more sense for me. We're not rodeo people. We're livestock people. And it's amazing how, and I'm not saying I don't have rodeo customers at all, but just the taking a step back and realizing I am trying to force something over here if I would just embrace something on this other side, it could be fantastic, questionably better, and more fun because they're my people, because they're my friends. And again, I'm not trying to bash rodeo. It's just the example. So I think that's the first thing is I did the Junior League show in Lubbock for years because I love Lubbock. I wanted to be there, so I was happy. I've got customers there. It's just, so I think, first of all, it was taking a step back and maybe considering, just because everybody else, and I'm saying in my business, just because so many other of the big players in the turquoise jewelry business were doing Vegas, doesn't mean that made the most sense for me.
Right. Kind of like not forcing yourself into something that doesn't fit.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that's the first thing, is really having the conversation of, where do I make the most sense? Maybe not where the industry makes the most sense, or where does my biggest competitor, where are they? I'm going to go set up right there. Where it makes the most sense for me. I think that's the first question to ask. And about the setup, like, to be honest, I never really realized this until other people told me, is I really try to make an experience. I try to create, like, and I say it all the time, not even realizing it, like a home base. Like, if you want to leave your stroller back here, you go ahead. Like, there's guys that we're super close with on the cattle side that every time they walk by, you want a snack, and they'll come check on me, or they want to come see Charlie. Or so I think it's creating a home base rather than somewhere to buy jewelry. And I think that comes organically with that. But I love when people are like, "Oh, I just need to get away and come have a drink." Like, girl, come on. Or guy, come on. You know what I mean? Like, whoever. But I think when they feel comfortable just hanging out, I think the rest just naturally falls into place.
Well, and two, kind of going on with that earlier theme of, even if they are not your best customer or have no intention of buying anything, again, whether it's on a sale, on a live sale, or in the booth, those people are your best form of marketing. When somebody is
Absolutely.
looking for something, that person is going to say, oh, you need to go shop with Kelli. So the individual may not have purchased a $200 pair of earrings or necklace or whatever it is, but they could have just sold an $800 sale based on the amount of people that they told about you, which is far worth more than their $200. Like, it's in the scheme of things, people in relationships, that is absolutely word of mouth, recommendations, like, that will always and forever be the best form of marketing.
I totally agree. And I also think that a crowd draws a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I totally agree. People don't like to be sold to, and like, if people want to buy something, they're going to buy something. I'd never, ever want to be salesy. People ask me all the time at shows, well, do you think this looks good? Do you like this? And I tell them 100% of the time, if Chase was sitting next to me, she would be nodding her head yes right now. It doesn't matter what I think. I'm not looking at you all day, every day. You're looking at yourself. Do you like it? Do you think it looks good? Great.
I also think, not that this has anything to do with what we're talking about, but I firmly believe if you don't instantly know when you look at yourself in the mirror, this is a hell yes, then it is a hell no. Same with, I'm in the process of redoing my office, and I probably have like 17 paint colors on the wall behind me. And I can tell you none of them are the one, because it wasn't an instant hell yes, that is the color. It's a, oh, do I like that? Do I like, I don't know. That could work. Like, no.
Totally the same.
You need to instantly be in love with it. Otherwise, like, again, we're going back to this idea of like, you're forcing something that is maybe just not meant to be.
Yeah. And obviously I can do this at shows where I can't do this online, but I can tell by somebody's reaction when they look at themselves in the mirror. And I'm like, you don't love it. Okay, let's keep trying. Because it's an investment, and it's something that you're going to spend, whether it's $100 or $1,000 on something. It doesn't need to be just okay. You need to love it.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, you talked about sales, and I want to round out the episode here, and then we've got to get to those rapid fire questions. But I wrote this down earlier. So you started as a waitress, you then sold to tractor dealerships through Fastline, and now you are selling jewelry. Those three are complete opposites, but I know they all have a through line. What is something that you have learned specifically about sales through all of those experiences?
Well, not to correct you, but I've also sold tanning packages, apartment leases, boutique websites. But
look at you.
I think that, and I struggle with this and I need to do a better job of this. In sales, the best thing you can do is listen. People are going to tell you the information that you need in order to sell something if you will just be quiet and just let them fill the silence. And I think that was probably in some high rent training I got at some point during the way. But I think that's something that's for sure true in anything you're going to sell is stopping, looking someone in the eye and listening to them.
You know what? And I'm going to say, I think that is probably the solution to 99% of life. Like, be a great listener, and that will get you where you want to go, solve whatever problem, like create the opportunity, the conversation, fill the room, whatever it is. Be a better listener than a talker.
Yeah. And it's hard to do.
Oh, it is. It totally is. Okay, let's get to our rapid fire round. What do you hope people remember most about you?
I hope that people think that I'm a good human. And I hope that people remember, think, whatever, that I built a community of people that just support each other. And I don't even, and I say people because I hope that it's not just women. I hope that it's women and men, people making each other feel good.
Oh, I love that. Okay, what is a non-negotiable in your life?
Personal or professional?
All of the above.
Personal would be Texas Tech football.
Okay. 'Tis the season.
It is the season. We're 3-0. Professional is, and I tread lightly with this, but I do not play the influencer game. And I don't know that it's as much of a thing as it was 10 years ago. Maybe it is, and I just don't realize it. But that's something I've never wanted to get into just because I think it's really not fair for my customers that work hard to spend their money with me.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think that makes perfect sense. Okay, if you were a professional athlete, what would your walk-up song be?
Kendrick Lamar, Humble.
Oh, I like that. That's a great. Okay,
if that doesn't get you fired up.
That's on my workout jams playlist. I love it.
See? It does.
What is the smartest thing somebody's ever said to you?
Have you ever gotten off Facebook and felt better about yourself?
All the dang time. I mean, like, not being...
Well, you're the 1%.
But like, no, I mean, like, not being on Facebook makes me feel better than being on Facebook does. That's what I mean by that.
Right? It's like, and as someone who has built a business on social media, like, you never get off of social media and think, she's skinnier, she's prettier, she's richer, she has better vacations, whatever. It's like...
No, social media is the root of the comparison game, unfortunately speaking. Yeah, I answered that wrong, but my heart was in it for sure. Okay, last question for you. Let's talk about favorite things. Oh, and then I have another one to add. Obviously, there are a number of different turquoise stones, patinas. What is your favorite? Can you even pick a favorite? Is that like having to pick a favorite child?
Well, I do have a favorite child.
Okay, it's Lincoln. It's the one and only. Don't tell Charlie.
Okay, coral.
Oh.
I'm a red girl.
That makes sense, though, because you bleed red and black.
Yeah, coral. Close second would be bumblebee. Close third would be lapis.
Okay. I love those answers. Now we can talk about favorite things. Do you have a favorite podcast, program, service, life hack, book? What is something that has changed your life that you just think more people need to know about?
How to win friends and influence people. And if I practiced what I preached, I would listen to it every year. I think that, I don't know, I need to listen to it again. I love the toast. Are you a toaster?
No, I should I be?
Yeah.
Okay.
You should. And then I listen to the daily podcast every day, which is just like a 10 to 15 minute news, like very quick. And I like it. I think it's important to know what's going on in the world, obviously. But
I do too.
To be honest, like it's kind of a good way to be able to make conversation with people.
No, that makes perfect sense because you're up to date. So that's actually, okay, we're going to get on a tangent and we probably don't even have time for it. I grew up watching the news. Like my parents would sit down at 5 o'clock. My dad would come in from whatever he was doing and he would watch the news, mainly because you're a rancher and you need to know what the weather has got going on. And reading the paper the next day was not the best method of finding out.
Too late.
You need to, exactly, you're too late. You needed to know the day before. So the news was always on in our house. And I remember I honestly credit that to one of the reasons that I feel like I excelled in school, because I always knew what was going on. When it came to different questions that our teachers would ask, like I would be one of the few that would raise my hands because I was one of the few who was watching the news in elementary school and middle school and high school, like whatever it was. I understand why people don't want to watch the news now. It's as depressing as social media. But at the same time, I think, how sad is it that we are not willing to watch the news because we are missing out on knowing what is happening in the world, or that news has become so one-sided and not a, here's what has happened, these are the facts, make your own assumption opinion based off of the actual news. But that's my side tangent for you.
Well, and like to not really, I know that we don't really need to get into politics, but the daily podcast is a little more leaning to the side that I don't lean to. And I think that is, I listened to that podcast strategically for that reason, because I was listening to Ben Shapiro a few years ago, and he said, we need to know what the other side is saying. We need to be educated on what the other side is, because, I mean, if we're just shouting from the rooftops, our side, what's the point, you know?
Oh, preach it, because I firmly believe the same thing. I do watch the news every morning, and the channel that I watch is not from my brand of politics, because I think it is so important to know what's going on and honestly to get a well-rounded opinion. Like I think the reason that I think, because I'm in my own little echo chamber, but maybe I'm wrong about something. Maybe there is something that I haven't considered or a different perspective, because again, if I'm surrounded by my same perspective, I'm never going to think about a new one. And also, I would hope that somebody from the other side, let's say, would have the same respect for me. Like even when it comes to the whole, like, are you a meat eater versus a vegetarian? I hope that a vegetarian would have the same respect that I do for them. I want to hear why they feel the way they do or what questions they have. And I would hope that they would hold that same space for me so that I could tell them why I feel the way I do. I think it's so important.
I think it's you and I specifically. I think it's very easy for us to get caught up in, not the minutia, but get caught up in our comfort, for lack of a better word, because of where we're at. I mean, we are in the heart of, both of us are in the heart of cattle country. You know what I mean? Where we forget, I shouldn't say we forget. Like, I think that it's easy for you and I to not realize that Dallas is a whole lot different than Wyoming and Idaho.
Oh, yeah, right? Like gang violence, it doesn't exist just because it's not here in my local neighborhood, or homeless isn't a thing because it's not here in my local neighborhood. No.
Yeah.
All of the things that we hear about, like, they do exist, just like agriculture is the heartbeat of America. But to the people in the middle of New York, I can't see it. I don't know that it exists. Like, we have to hold that same space for other people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Okay, well, here we are. Okay, Kelli, last question for you, and then I'm gonna let you go. But where can people find you online? Where can they shop? Give us the rundown.
My website is shopheritagestyle.com. I do a pretty piss poor job of TikToking. Instagram, heritage.style, Facebook, heritage style. In person, we're gearing up for Kansas City. That's the American Royal. And then in November, Mackenzie and I will do our 11th dryland styled collection launch.
Yay!
Yeah. And that's at her store, New Home. And then we've kind of created our own little holiday shopping thing with several other businesses that will be third week in November in New Home as well.
Oh, well, lots of great opportunities to shop. And just, again, whether you're a purchaser or not, go become friends with Kelli. She is the coolest. You guys love her. And she's going to feel the same way about you guys. So thank you so much for being here today, Kelli. Thank you guys for listening. You know you can find us back here next week. There's going to be a brand new episode of Leaders of the West. So until then, stay tuned. We'll see you then.
If you loved this episode, do us a favor and share it with someone else who might find just as much value in it as you did. We're on a mission to continue to grow and strengthen the future of agriculture and Western industries, and you spreading the word helps us make more of a positive impact. It also makes a big difference when you take a minute to go rate and review the show. We can't thank you enough for listening, for sharing, and for loving Ag and Western as much as we do. We'll see you back here for our next episode.